Hey fellas, how you doing? It's Johnny. Listen, I've got to share this amazing story from this amazing man. I watched a documentary last night on YouTube. Just want to get his name. This is a man called Maury Blair. Basically, this guy's story is really inspiring. Obviously, I resonated with his story. This man had undergone years of abuse. He went through horrific childhood abuse from his stepdad. It wasn't even his real dad. And I'm trying to explain this story. I can't think of everything now in the video, so just trying to recite what happened. Sorry. So basically, what happened is I don't know what happened to his real dad, but his mum married this other man, and this man said, "I don't want the child in my house," because his mum had got pregnant with someone else. Didn't see that person. So basically, this guy was pretty much abandoned straight away, because this stepdad didn't want him to live in the house because he had his own children, and the stepdad had said to the mum, "I'll only marry you if you have an abortion, or basically get rid of the guy, put him in foster care." So she agreed, because she was struggling at the time, the mum, to make money or whatever. In those times, I think it was hard for women, but so she adopted him, but she went back on her word. Obviously, she loved her son, so she brought the son back in the house. And this stepdad was furious, and he would always come home drunk. And it's interesting because when this man, I'm trying to remember his name, when this man Maury Blair describes the abuse that he underwent from his father, God, it's like, man, I went through the same thing. I'm sure there's many men that follow my YouTube channel, lots of guys I work with, that have experienced something similar. And it was just, it's just interesting how he describes how he got through this. And he says he doesn't understand how he wasn't killed, and how much hate that his stepdad were projecting on him. And it's interesting what he said, because I felt the same thing. He said the beatings were not as bad as the actual verbal abuse. Totally resonated with that. I've told many of my students this, having experienced this myself. The actual verbal abuse from someone, it hurts more, because the beating, it hurts a bit, shocks you, then it goes away. And just the kind of the terror, the stories of the stepdad coming home every day, coming up the stairs, and sometimes you wouldn't know if he was going to get beaten. Sometimes he said the stepdad would just swear at him, then go to sleep. He had to avoid him all the time. That's how I was with my dad. I had to avoid him. I couldn't stay in the same room. He had to go upstairs. He had to wake up in the morning, leave the house. There was a constant game of hide and seek in the house. The mum was always protecting him. The mum couldn't be seen to show him love, because the stepdad would attack him and the mum. It was just, the poor guy was living in a nightmare. And when he was going to school, he said all the teachers knew about the abuse that was going on at home, but no one said anything. They knew about it. Everyone knew about it. Even when he got stopped by the police, I can't remember the reason he said in the documentary, the police let him off, and they didn't tell his dad because the police knew about the abuse. It's kind of interesting with abuse, because that's kind of how I felt with my family. Everyone knew it went on, but you kind of do feel like that. You can't help it. You feel like no one cares, because no one does anything about it. There's nothing, no one. And it's interesting because he said he used to run and stay with his grandma. That's what I used to do. So I'm thinking, fucking hell, this man's story is like listening to myself. So I kind of wanted to share it, because I thought it would resonate with anyone watching this video. But this man made a remarkable transformation. Now, I'm not trying to convert you guys to God or anything, so don't start panicking, but he said he had an encounter with Jesus Christ and it healed him, and the man's transformed. He's gone on to help lots of people, tell his story in schools, university, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but this is exactly what I've gone on to do. And he found forgiveness, and his stepdad passed away. And he goes on to say, when he went to, actually his mum said that the stepdad wanted to see him in hospital, he wanted to visit him. It's kind of very touching, because stepdad asked him a couple of questions about, I can't remember what he said now. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was kind of touching. But just hearing this man talk about his story, it was just really inspiring, because it doesn't really matter if you get abused by your dad, whoever you get. If anyone's undergone abuse, it hurts, it affects you. And he talks about what I've spoken about, what other teachers have mentioned, the after effects of abuse. The abuse itself is never nice, but what comes after, post abuse, is always much worse. And he talks about the shame that you're left with, the guilt, you feel, you blame yourself, you can't tell anyone. He said he couldn't tell anyone. He said he was terrified if he said it to anyone. When he'd go swimming, he was embarrassed to take his clothes off because he was covered in bruises. He had to jump in the pool, stay up to his neck, jump out, hide. I know how he felt. I know the feeling. I lived like that myself for many years. Constant hiding. That's where a lot of my social anxiety come from, this constant hiding all the time because you feel ashamed, you don't feel good enough, you're angry, distrust. And he was always worried that his stepdad would kill him, or he'd kill his mum. This man was a lot worse than my dad in the way he described him. But abuse is abuse, and that's what I went through. And it's this really, I really resonate with him, because you're just left confused. You can't really, well, you can actually tell someone, but you feel that you can't. And it's interesting because he talks about the encounter with God. He talks about the encounter with Jesus Christ, and he says there was I can't remember who it was, but someone had borrowed him a book. I forgot the name of the book, because Les Brown has actually quoted this name. Les Brown, someone else that I really like, motivational speaker, who has mentioned this guy's name. I think it's Dr. Vincent Peale, I could be wrong. And he said he read this book and he doesn't understand it. He felt God through the book, and he just felt Jesus Christ. He transformed. And to see the man now is amazing. Definitely check him out on YouTube. Just get his name. I keep forgetting. His name is Maury. It's spelled Maury Blair, Blair. And there's just something really, I don't know, there's something really beautiful about this man. He's really strong, and you can see that he found forgiveness, he transformed, and I feel that's what I've done myself. I'm still working on stuff, so I'm still healing. I'm not where this man is yet, but I'm on that path. I've done massive healing through confronting my dad. So this video is really to reach out and just to show some compassion for anyone else that's undergone abuse from a parent, because it's not a nice thing, and it does leave you. Even me doing this in this video, it's challenging for me, because I always get a voice coming up saying to me, you're gonna appear to be seeking sympathy or some kind of validation or some kind of approval, but I'm simply not. I'm actually celebrating that I got through it as well. I made it to the other side, and I transformed, and my life transformed, and my life changed for the better, having undergone abuse. And I think it does two things when you get abused by someone. It makes you or breaks you, and it broke me for many years, but it made me really strong. And that's why I've been able to go on and achieve amazing things in my life, from the most smallest mundane things to stuff like public speaking, becoming a teacher, getting more relaxed around people, getting success with women at a particular stage in my life, running a successful business, still working on stuff and helping people transform their lives. It's very beautiful. And this is all done from honesty. This is exactly what Maury Blair talks about, what I've been, preaching, sharing and talking about and teaching and learning myself. Honesty in itself is a separate teacher. The best healing comes from honesty. And it's interesting because he went to a school, I think in America, and it was apparently very hostile, and the teachers were saying, you're not going to get through to these kids. And he just went in there and he took his mask off. He told the truth, and he got a standing ovation from the whole school. And one of the kids said, "We like you because you took your mask off. You've showed that you was in pain." And he talks about something again that is in parallel or in par to what I've been really stressing on YouTube and learning in my own life. Men need to take their mask off. Men are taught we can't cry, we can't show emotions, and he said exactly what I said. He said, if you look at scriptures and you look at stories and journeys of great men, they've all been very honest men. They've been very emotional. Just because a man cries doesn't mean he's lost his bottle, he's not masculine. The masculine warriors, they cry and they do, they know how to be a man when it's the right time. I say it to my students all the time. Just because I have a cry once in a while, it doesn't mean I've lost my bottle. It means I'm full of courage. And it's just, we have to reconfirm what it is to be a man. So it's a beautiful story about honesty, love, and he talks about forgiveness. He said in the end he just felt compassion for this man because the man was in pain. To be violent, be beating people up and abusive, and the man was racist towards him. He called him horrible names. He was hateful, and the man had obviously, this is what Maury went on to say, he'd undergone abuse himself. And he talked about the importance of getting healing, because obviously, apparently in psychology, it's commonly predicted and known if someone's undergone abuse, they're going to do that to their kids. And I'm certainly not going to treat my son or daughter like that, my future kids. That's why I think it's so important for us, guys or women or people that have been abused, we get ourselves right, because we'll pass on that anger and blame. And I've certainly made that mistake in my life, and that's why for many years I was a bully myself, and I wasn't proud of it because I was protecting myself. My relationships were up and down, but thank God I feel like I've had an encounter with God. But I'm not going to put a name on it. I'm not really interested in forcing religion or preaching to people. I just, people are free to believe in whatever they believe in, but I certainly had an encounter with God or something higher, a higher being that healed me. And the experiences that this man talks about, exactly the same that I experienced when my dad used to come in the room and start laying into me and shouting, and the pre-fear of him coming home and sitting in your room and just thinking, oh man, he's coming in, is he going to start on me, is it going to happen, boom, boom, heart beating, angry, not knowing, just, it's no wonder, it's no wonder a lifetime of anxiety. But what an inspiring man. And it was, he just inspired me to do this video. I just felt a real need. I felt an intuitive need to do this video, put it out, and to share this story. But I think it'll be better if you hear it from the man himself. So please go on YouTube and write in Maury Blair. It's M-A-U, I know I've said it, M-A-U-R-Y. And he's just an inspiring man. He's been on shows, and just someone that I would like to meet personally. You never know. And wow, anything's possible. So it doesn't matter what you've been through in your life. And this is a story of success. People ask me all the time, how do you define success? Because we just think money and women and lifestyle. No, that's just one element of it. That's a small element. It's not really as important. Success is it's hard to explain, isn't it? Success is finding out who you are and living an honest life, and taking a dramatic or traumatic or awful experience and using that pain or that type of energy and putting things right, basically getting inspired and healing yourself, changing yourself, all the same kind of things. And it's interesting because when you do these things, you seem to attract the other egotistical things like money, status, approval, respect, women, and the rest of it. But I just love this story because it's a story about fear, abuse, dishonesty, love. It's very nice. So I hope you enjoyed that, and check it out. Let me know in the box below what you think. You might have undergone abuse yourself. You may be embarrassed to talk about it. Maybe this video would liberate you. I can honestly tell you, the best thing to do when we're ashamed or we're carrying abuse is to bring it out and talk about it. There's nothing unmanly. You're not doing anyone a disservice. You need to be kind to yourself, because we can kind of get caught up in, if I bring it out, people are going to think this. Well, let people think what they're going to think. Let people think whatever they're going to think, because they're going to think it anyway. But when you judge another man under God's law anyway, you judge yourself. You judge yourself anyway. So it's nice when you can speak about your abuse, because that's when you know that you've overcome it or you're on the right track. It's when you can't speak about it, that's when you're living in pain and you're suffering. And this is really what my whole YouTube channel is about. It's just about me sharing my story with the abuse from my dad and all the pain it caused me, the shame, the embarrassment, and how it affected me socially and my relationships with people, and how I've come to terms with that, healed that, and continue to heal that. And through healing that, my whole life transforms for the better. And we can go into every area. People say, well, how did you do it? Have you got proof? Well, finances improved, self-esteem's improved, fashion's improved, intellect has improved thousands of people around the world. Sometimes I don't even like saying it because I feel a bit big-headed. I wasn't brought up, we didn't we wasn't brought up in my household to show off. You didn't really, it wasn't something that my dad taught my mum, and what I kind of learned. And I think it's a good thing, but I think sometimes, you know, anything to the extreme is not good. So sometimes you have to be proud of yourself. You have to say, yeah, it's amazing what I've done, I've achieved this, and it is amazing what I've achieved, and it's so great to get the support from you guys. And this is really what gives me the motivation to continue. And hearing this man's story confirmed that I need to share mine more. I don't think you can ever share it enough, because people need to hear it. They do need to hear it. They definitely need to hear it, and to see that I've made it, because many people don't. Many people jump off the bridges, hang themselves, kill themselves. They can't live with the shame. And I never did that. As I said in my last video, at 25, those thoughts did cross my mind, but I always thought, nah, I'm not going out. I'm not going out that way. I'm going out. I'm going to win, in the sense of I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm not going to let my dad beat me, the old self, because he's really changed now. But that story that lingered after the abuse, that story that just kept playing out, and you kind of start seeing that story. You see it in the world, or in situations when you meet new people. If you've gone through abuse, you're kind of confused. It's hard to trust people. So it's all about rebuilding that relationship with yourself, and it makes you 100 times stronger. So yeah, alright, I'll see you in the next video. I know this video is it can be a bit dark, but I always say, in the darkest places is where I seem to access the most light. That's been absolute truth in my life, and I know that's true. And still, when I face more things that frighten me, I still have to remind myself. So we access the greatest light in the darkest of places. Enjoy the process. I love you.